Good morning. My name's Peg Martin, and I'm an alcoholic. Now, I've got to say something, because I want the guys from North Dakota to stand up a minute. Yay! Now, all of them, wait a minute, all of them sit down except Calvin, stand up. Now, no, keep standing up a minute. Is this my kind of man? Yeah! However, my topic, through the grace of God and fellowship of people like you and sponsorship, I've been sober since February the 4th, 1964. However, my topic this morning is I am responsible. Therefore, I can hug Kelvin, but that's where it ends, boy. Too bad. Oh, I've always loved those big football guys, I'll tell you. Anyway, I want to thank John for asking me again to share this morning. And my topic comes from the saying that we have the pledge that we have in Alcoholics Anonymous called that I am responsible. When anyone, anywhere reaches out for help, I am responsible that the hand of AA be there. It's not exactly the words, but that's the gist of it. And I was thinking about responsibility the other day, and none of us, at least I have to say for me, I didn't like the word responsibility. It implied maturity, it implied limits, it implied borders, it implied work, and those are no things that I like to do. I mean, I like to be a free spirit, I like to have fun, I like to go where my mind takes me, which is not responsible sometimes, it's just all over the place. But since 39 years ago, I got sober, and I was 25 when I got sober, and up to that point, I had not been responsible in many, many areas of my life. It's only fitting that I should have to be nuclear responsible for the rest of my life, because that's just the price. That's the price. And I don't mind paying it. Now, was I as responsible at 5 years of sobriety as I am today? Of course not. I was a nitwit when I was 5 years old. I didn't know what responsibility was. I mean, I bounced around like a ping pong ball, not knowing, I'm one of these people that, now that I got my hair cut, I can do this better, and it sort of doesn't fly all over the place. We just took another jag there, in case you hadn't noticed. But what was I saying? I forgot. I am a thinker. I'm a thinker. I'm a binge thinker. I get to thinking about stuff, and I just think it. And I try to divert myself, and it's like I go, boom, right back. It's like a magnet just stuck right on there, Let's think about this. So, if somebody said, well, why don't you think about being responsible? Okay, I'll think about being responsible. What's responsible? I better look it up in the dictionary. Responsible. No. Responsible. No. Whatever. And I just, that's what I would do when I was 5 years sober, 10 years sober, and so on. So, really, everybody in here knows what responsibility is. It's responsibility. It's doing what we should do when we should do it. It's doing the right thing. It's It's integrity. It's doing the things that that I knew all my life I should do. I knew the things to do. That's the problem with being an alcoholic, is that we know what to do. We know the responsibility behind it. We know what we should do. We know the right things to do. We're closet moralists, and that's one of our problems, is that we're closet moralists. You know, we know the moral things to do. We don't want to do them. And we pay a price for that. And the price we pay is guilt. We have this huge guilt about everything, World War II and everything. Smacking Flash around, even though I don't really feel terribly guilty about that. But, well, I tell you, I hated this guy. This guy he was in, I think it was the 6th grade. And we were raising money for the Berlin candy lift. So, you know, I earned these wrinkles. And I was in charge of taking up the money. And there was a guy in our class who was a great big guy. He was he was one of those sort of spongy guys. You know, he had a little tiny peewee head, you know, and these little teeny shoulders that just barely supported that. And then came down, had this big fat butt, you know, just a big fat, looked like an avocado, you know, it was just shaped like a little feet, legs sticking out down at the bottom. And he was a nerd. He wore white shirts with pockets, you know, those high water jeans and tennis shoes with lightning bolts on the sides. And we called him Flash, and because he wasn't, obviously. And I told him to bring his money in for the candy lift, and he wouldn't do it. And I said, if you don't bring in your money tomorrow, I'm going to beat you up. And I weighed 56 pounds. That's all I remember was that I was 56 pounds. And he goes, ooh, I'm really scared. So I waited in the bushes outside of Randolph Elementary School. Closet hero, too. And when he walked past me, I jumped out of the bushes with what I hoped was a blood-curdling cry and mashed my fist up into his nose. And it hit him right by sheer luck, right here, you know, where that bone is that just makes your eyes water. And his nose started bleeding, and I rode him to the ground because he was tall, you know, and I hanging on to him like this. And of course, then everybody could fight. And he was crying, and I was bloody, and I mean, not from me, from him. And I got in a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot of trouble about that, because my father was an officer and his father was a sergeant. It was just not good manners at all. And I had to stay in my room for weeks after school and listen to the airplanes take off and land, and we were on an Air Force base. And but you know, I'm not sorry. I don't have a lot of guilt about Flash, but I had a lot of guilt about the look in my mother's eyes. You know, I had a lot of guilt about the way that I had disappointed my father. I had a lot of guilt about, you know, cutting off all my sister's hair, you know, when she just grew it. You know, she was just 2 years old. She just got hair, and me and Snooky Camel cut it off, you know, and I felt guilty about that. Which is the great thing about this program. This is, you know, the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous is built for closet moralists. We get to do the right thing. Responsibility is doing the right thing. And I knew what the right thing to do was. And it's hard sometimes. You know, it's hard. But it's hard to live with us. It's hard to watch us for years doing the wrong thing. It's hard to be somebody standing by and watching us destroy ourselves. That's hard. And so it should be hard. You know, there's nothing I hate worse than whiners. I just hate whiners. Whine. That's what they sound like. And I ought to know. I'm a whiner. I'm a professional whiner. I mean, I'm a better whiner than you are. I am a mega whiner. You know, I can really get it going. But I hate it because I see myself in those people. And I hate people like, I have to go to another meeting? Well, yes. I have to do this. I have to shake her hand. I have to stand at the door and greet. Yes. Because I can't, you know, for me, it may be a hard thing to do. But as Mitch was saying last night, and the other people that have talked this weekend, the people that we see first, the people that made us welcome, the people who stuck out their hands and greeted us at the door, are sometimes the most important people ever in our lives. Because, as Clancy was saying yesterday afternoon, many times in my sobriety, looking back, my life has hung by a thread. And it has always been a power greater than myself through you people that has pulled me in and said, you know, don't leave just yet. And those are the responsible people. Those are the people who take the greeting positions. Those are the people who shake your hand or give you a hug just when you need it. Those are the people who make the coffee. You know, all of those things are behind the scenes stuff. It's always the guys who are willing to slog in the trenches that show up. You know, they're the shower-uppers. And that's what being responsible is about. It's about showing up. The other thing is this. I know, since I know the moral things to do, and now have been in Alcoholics Anonymous, somewhat accustomed to doing those things, I'm responsible for being a good human being. Not just a human being, but a good human being. Try to be. I'll never be good. I still have like lusty thoughts about Kelvin and stuff. You know, even though I draw my first Social Security check in December of this year, finally they're going to pay me back a little bit. Even though sometimes it just feels good to just get mad, you know, just clean out the cobwebs and get mad. And I do sometimes, and that's okay. Even though those things are still part of me, I take actions otherwise, most of the time. Now, you know, I throw a pillow here and there and get upset here and there. But I'll tell you what's been a lifesaver for me, and for those of you that I know that have some degree of humility, and that is humor. Humor about myself. I'll tell you, I'm so damn funny. I mean, it's just... And I think God's like up there going, look what she's done now. Isn't she funny? A lot of you have heard this, but I got to tell it because somebody reminded me of it this morning. I'm so glad to have Warren here. I mean, Warren, stand up a minute, because I won't. Come stand up, Warren. Stand up a minute. This Warren, he's been sober forever. Sober longer than anybody here. Anyway, where was I? Oh, Minneapolis. I knew there was a point. Anyway, when we had the International in Minneapolis, that was the best international. It was just a super international. And they had written to me some months before and said, we would like for you to speak at a meeting at the International. Oh, God, they never asked me before, ever. Nobody. So I think it might have been Bob that suggested it or something, but whatever, they sent me this letter. And I mean, you get months to think about it. So oh my God, I'm a bench thinker, so I'm thinking about it, and they give you a subject. And so I'm thinking about this subject, and I am thinking about it, and I am going to make the best damn talk ever on this subject, ever. And that's on one hand. On the other, I think, I'm going to faint. I'm going to get up there and just be people in the audience, and then it's the International, and they'll tell stories for years about the woman who fainted. She couldn't even. It's nothing self-centered about me or anything. It's just. So the morning of the talk, we're in a suite, and there's a bathroom. There's kind of a sink and some stuff outside. Then there's the bathroom. So it was really early. This friend of mine asked me to go to breakfast with her, so I got up early and was in there, and I thought, well, I'll go in and take a shower, try not to wake Dick up, because it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I hate, how I hate. I hate 9 o'clock, it's terrible. And so I get in the shower, and I get out of the shower, take a shower, and I have nothing in there. There's nothing in there. I have none of my potions and lotions, I have none of that stuff in there. It's all out on the sink in the other room. So I have a towel. I have no underwear. I have nothing. I mean, I'm naked. Cellulite and all, just naked. And so I go to the door, and I turn the knob. It goes round and round. Round and round. Like, oh, my God. So I do like this. I'm trying to be quiet to keep, Dick's old. He needs his sleep, so I'm trying to. So I get his doc kit's in there, so I get his Medicare card out, and I'm thinking, I'll try to, I'm not a thief, I don't know how to do it, I'm trying to do this thing, I can't do it, I get out his toenail clippers, and I'm trying to, nothing. So finally I pound on the door, boom, boom, boom. What? He says. I said, I'm locked in the bathroom. And, if any of you know Dick, you know what? He's just like rolled his, I'm just going to say, oh, my God. Oh, my God. So, I'm thinking, I'm stuck. My moment in the sun. And I'm stuck. I'll never make it. They'll have to come take the hinges off the door, So, and I have no clothes, I'm stuck in here. So he comes and he goes boom, 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 like this, and he's wham, wham, nothing. So I hear him. He's so funny, because manager, my wife, is stuck in the bathroom. Now it's 6 o'clock in the morning. By then, I hear the guy come to the door, and he says, "Madam, have you tried the knob?" I said, "Yes, I have tried the knob." So he goes, okay, so he twirls it, nothing, twirls it, nothing. So he, bam, bam, nothing. Bam, bam, nothing. Does all these kinds of things. Nothing. I mean, it is super locked. So he says to me, "Stand back, madam." So I took a step back, and I'm standing there, Nope, nothing. I did not think he was going to get in that place. So he goes, boom, nothing. Boom, and the door just swings open like this. And here I am. And he goes, "Good morning, madam." Now, that's funny enough. That whole thing is funny enough. First of all, he could not look. I saw him over the weekend. Never could look me in the eye. Never could. Here's the funny part. Guess what my subject was? a new freedom. God has such a sense of humor, and if I can laugh at myself, and I did, I just thought it was hysterical. It was just hysterical. I didn't care whether, here I am, this little short, stumpy German girl. I didn't care if that handsome manager saw me all naked or nothing. I just thought it was funny. I thought, God thought, you have a little lesson in humility here you need to learn. And here it is. You're going to get stuck in the bathroom when you're going to make the best sauce. So, of course, and they give you 15 minutes. All I did was tell the story. And it was the funniest. We had the funniest meeting. There were 3 speakers, and every one of them was funny. It was just the funniest meeting I've ever been to. I was so relieved to be out of the bathroom, for one thing. But, those are the kinds of things that if I can laugh at myself, if I can have a sense of humor about myself, if I can have a sense of humor about life itself, I'm so much better off. Because I think sometimes that I always thought when I was younger that God had to come to us in these stained glass rooms, where the stained glass with the light coming in and you're sitting and you're praying and preferably soft music is playing, and those are all good circumstances. But a lot of times I get to thinking in those circumstances. I get hearing the music and I think, I could play better than that. I think about, I think of the stained glass and I think I'll paint something in those colors, And I'm not meditating. I'm supposed to be meditating, clearing my mind. I'm not. Jack Dempsey from Pittsburgh tells this marvelous story. He said he remembers the day that he took the 3rd step. Now he's from Pittsburgh, so he says the 3rd step. Which is even funnier because he's a plumber. He talks about taking the 3rd step. He said, I wish I could tell you that I took the 3rd step sitting in a stained glass window chapel. But actually, I took the 3rd step on the toilet. So many times, those kinds of things, those kinds of enlightenments, those kinds of experiences come to me in very strange places. And bathrooms are strange places, for those kinds of experiences to happen. But it's all about being honest, being open-minded, and being willing to be responsible, to stick in there and do the right thing. So many people, and it seems like I say this every year, but when I'm here, but I'm so sure that this kind of thing is the right thing to do. That I have to emphasize it. Many people, as Clancy alluded to, leave Alcoholics Anonymous. And sometimes they leave at 10 years or 15 years, but a lot of them leave earlier. But, in that case, the disease in its physical manifestations and emotional manifestations, that, I think, is the reason people leave early, because they get discouraged, or they don't have a sponsor, or they don't go to enough meetings, or, there are real, tangible reasons for you being able to say, well, the guy left. Well, he didn't go to meetings. Well, what about the guy who's 10 years sober, or 15 years sober, or 20 years sober? What about that guy? And more than likely, with those sorts of people with a longer-term sobriety, it's a spiritual condition that hasn't been taken care of that they leave. Now, there are lots of reasons that they give, and I've heard them all. You've heard them. Meetings are boring. I've said it all. Somebody else took over. They're not doing it right. You know, there are all kinds of reasons that happens. Or they don't like the group anymore, it's gotten too big, or it's gotten too small, or their sponsor died, or this happened or that happened, and or they get a resentment towards somebody in the group or whatever, and they just gradually leave. And they leave so slowly, we don't see them, we don't know they're gone until they're gone. And we might call them up and say, why don't you come on back? Oh, what is the answer? I'm doing fine. I'm just doing fine. And you can't say you're lying because you don't know. Maybe they are doing fine. But I'll tell you, consistent action, no matter what my head says, no matter what goes on, no matter if I get a resentment, no matter if I don't like what's going on in the group, who cares? Who asked me? You know, it's like Clancy said yesterday, who cares? I mean, I've got to do it myself. Responsibility is the power of one. It's me. I've got to take those actions. I have to take those actions. Now, I'm just a little teeny speck in this nuclear world. Tiny little mote, as they say in the Bible, a mote. Think about, if you get real, uppity sometimes, think about yourself as a mote. That's small, and I like being a mote because there's tons of other motes. See, and I'm just one of them, and that gives me a feeling of comfort. It's okay with me to be a mote. But anyway, as a person like that, part of the power of one is to carry the message and to be responsible to do those things that I did in the beginning. Who says I ever outgrow that? Who says I outgrow shaking hands with people at the door? How do you outgrow that? How do you outgrow being on the greeting committee? How do you outgrow wiping the tables down at your meeting? How do you outgrow that? How do you outgrow making a 12-step call when somebody calls? When anyone anywhere reaches out. I want the hand of AA to be there. How do you outgrow that? Do you always say, oh, let the newcomer do it? No. I'm in the middle hallway. I'm in the hallway of AA here. I've been in the newcomer room. I'm in the hallway. I'm not in the old-timer room yet. I'm in the middle. And when you get in the middle, I love this analogy. In a hotel, there's usually this one long hall, and at either end is a window. And sometimes when life gets tough, what I want to do is just run for the window. But because I'm responsible and because I'm hooked into Alcoholics Anonymous, somebody will open the door of the last room before that window. And it'll usually knock me flat. They'll go, oh, hi, because I'm laying out there in the hall. Oh, thanks for that, or what. And it can be the smallest little things. But I got to be present. I got to be there. If I'm not in AA's hallway, I'm out the window. And I don't want to be out. I love it here. I love this. So with that in mind, I want to do something that is startling to me. It's just startling to me. Because I'm a mote. Remember this. But I'm a responsible mote. So I want everybody I sponsor to stand up. That are in the room. Everybody hold your applause. Now I want everybody that they sponsor to stand up. Just keep standing, everybody. Now I want everybody that they sponsor to stand up. And everybody they sponsor to stand up. And so on and so on. Now look at that. I mean, that's it. power of one. That's for being responsible, whether I want to be or not. I'm a moat, member. I mean, this is not about me. This is about me. Sally told me something yesterday. Sally, one of the people I sponsor, she said, in 24 generations from 2 people, you're going to have 8 million. 8 million. Now that's, to me, that's just like awesome. It's awesome. Now, we have to stay. We've got to stay. That's the deal, is to stay. I'm not wonderful at all. All my friends know that. I mean, they know that. All my pigeons know that. But I'm a stubborn moat. I'm just stubborn. I want to keep what I have. That's what I want. I want to keep a sense of humor about myself. I want to see you. I want to be introduced to my great grand pigeons. I love that. Young, always. Fresh-faced. I never looked like that when I got sober, I'll tell you. I rode hard and put up wet. That's what I look like. But I just don't want to miss it. I've always been one of these people. I just don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss anything. And I got to be here to see that. When I was down in Mexico, I don't know, time flies when you're having fun, several months ago. And I've always thought, that when you're a responsible person, when you're a responsible member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you live in the actions of the steps, or try to, and you show up for the commitments that you have and so forth, you get to go places you get to do things like that. And I was down there, and I've always known that at the back of my head there's this sort of enemy of myself. This. When I get to thinking, it's not always good stuff. It's always, it's a lot self-centered, and I still have that. I mean, I'm not free of self. I wish I was. No, I don't wish I was, because then I wouldn't relate to you. And I need to do that. I need to identify no matter what. But I've always thought that there was this part in our brain, and this is actually genetically correct, that there's this thing in the back of your brain called the lizard brain. And it's down inside the medulla, and it's this little gnarly-looking black thing. It's a tiny little hideous-looking thing. I always think of it as like being a gallstone or something, but it's called the lizard brain. It's called the lizard brain because it very, very much resembles a brain from a lizard. So, aptly called. But in this lizard brain are stored every single piece of genetic material we have. It determines everything that we are and going to be. And the lizard, when I am not responsible, and when I am not showing up for what I'm doing, so what if it's inconvenient? So what? It was certainly inconvenient for somebody to go pick you up and take you to your first meeting. It was certainly inconvenient for people to show up at the friendship group in Washington, D.C. to be there when I walked in the doors to shake my hand and say, welcome to the friendship group. It's certainly inconvenient for somebody to come pick me up when I was scared to death and just about to run. I mean, those are all inconveniences, and they were all by different people. But by gosh, I mean, they are my heroes. They're the ones that saved. In that instance, they saved my life. That's why I need to stay here. I need to be. I don't know when something. It works better when I have to do it against my self-will. It works better if it's inconvenient. And I just want people to stay. I want them to be here. I want them to be responsible in the way that people were responsible when I was there. And I have the responsibility to be here myself. One of the most touching things for me, it always is, and I don't know why it is, but it doesn't matter because I love these people a lot, but my farmers are here. Emmett and Donna. I've been here every single year. I want Emmett and Donna to stand up. Emmett and Donna, come on, stand up. And they're heroes to me. They're heroes to me. Because Donna hasn't been well, and they show. Anyway, so what? So what? They bring their grandkids a lot of times. They bring one every year to the Cornhusker. This is a great deal. You know, it's just like my Jimmy. You know, he got sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, and when every once in a while, Joe Martin gets to come to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and when he does, that's my grandson, he runs upstairs and he gets his tie. And he puts his tie on because he knows Alcoholics Anonymous is an important place. And it's safe for him there. And he's going to need it. So please stick around. Because he's going to need it. And somebody's going to have to sponsor him. Oh, I got to tell a Caitlin story because she's liable to be here too. Although, I don't know, I think she's more destined for Al-Anon. You know. She came home from school came to work from school, and she says, I'm going to be in the talent show. I said, oh, that's great, Caitlin. What are you going to do? She said, I'm going to do my ballet. Oh, great. Well, tell Grandma what's going to happen. I'll come watch you. Joe says, I want to be in the talent show. Caitlin goes, Joe, you can't be in the talent show. You have to have talent. Actually, she reminds me of me. Anyway, along that lines, there's a cartoon, 7 o'clock on, what is that? I don't know. It's either Cartoon Network or one of those things. Huh? Nickelodeon. It's on Nickelodeon, 7 o'clock. And it's the epitome of responsibility. It is SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants is a moral sponge. And the funny thing is, he's in the sea with all his friends. But he's a kitchen sponge. He is a processed sponge. It's not like a ocean sponge like I want it to be. I want it to be one of these sponges that's like a fan, you know, or a brain thing, or something that is an exotic sponge. But Bob is a kitchen sponge. He is ready. He's ready for anything. He's a ready sponge. He's a moral sponge. He is a person who is willing to take on responsibility. And I want to be like SpongeBob SquarePants. He's good to his friends. He loves his friends. He hugs his friends. He saves his friends from addictions. I want to be like SpongeBob SquarePants. And I want to be like him so much that I went to the Halloween party as SpongeBob SquarePants. He struck, when I saw that, it struck a chord in me. And so I have this, and I have a little pillow with SpongeBob on it, and Renee Dubé gave me slippers with SpongeBob slippers. So I have a whole collection of SpongeBobs now, but it reminds me to be ready. I'm going to end with you know what? I'm so grateful to have you guys. I was so lonely for so many years. I never really thought I could live in the world, really. I was too mean, and I was too scared. I was too judgmental, too prideful, and I felt so alone. And I came here just 39 years ago. 39 years ago. And you have transformed me. And it's always God through you. And I never, ever thought I'd say that. I never thought I'd say that I was searching and wanting to search for a power greater than myself. But it's true. And I'm still on the search. And there's this wonderful, wonderful story. It was written years ago by Henry Van Dyke, who's long dead. And it's called Other Wise Man. And the story starts off, everybody knows about the 3 wise men. Period. But have you ever heard the story of the other wise man? Now that just, as an alcoholic, that just appealed to me, you know. But have you ever heard the story about the other wise man? Because the 3 ones, they're the ones everybody hears about. And then there's the alcoholic, other wise man. You know, that's like me. And his name was Artaban. And Artaban, he heard about the star. He heard about the message. He heard the good news at the same time that the other 3 wise men did. But he was busy. And he had to do some stuff before he could take off on the search. So he sold all his stuff. And he bought a ruby, a sapphire, and a pearl. And he put them in a little pouch around his neck, close to his heart. And he took off on the search. He took off to go find the other 3 wise men. And he got there, and he was late. Of course he was late. He was busy. They had already gone. So he was looking for the power. He was living in the days of polytheism in a sense. And he was looking he had this feeling in his heart that there was a way. That there was a way. That there was a God that he was going to connect to. And he had that feeling so strongly that he continued on his journey. And all he knew was he was looking for this power. He was looking for God. For that God. And so he got to this oasis, and there was this sick guy there, and this sick guy was, you know, it talks in biblical language, but sick unto death, you know, and this guy was a good guy, and so the man that Artaban was a doctor, so he stopped and he ministered to this guy, and he got him well. But I mean, weeks went by, months went by. And so he had to sell his sapphire, or the ruby, I think. Well, he sold the ruby so he could have provisions to continue on his journey. So he continued on his journey, and he came into this little town, and he was spending the night with somebody, and they said, "We have to hide the babies. We have to hide the babies. They're coming to kill the babies." And the Roman soldiers were coming to kill all the male babies because they were so afraid of this man that was coming, this projected Son of God. So he was in the house and there was a baby. And the soldiers came to the house and the baby was in the back room and he was crying. And he bribed the soldiers with his sex. And they passed the house by. And years went by and years went by and he was in Jerusalem. Years went by. And he would hear of this great power. But he could never get there. And he was in Jerusalem and there was a slave girl that was running beside him. They were going to see the one. And suddenly the Roman soldiers came and they were going to grab this servant girl that was beside him. And he said, don't take her, don't take her. Here, take this. And the pearl that had been holding close to his heart all those years had taken on the colors of the other gems. Just like our lives, if we're staying here and we're trying the best we can and we're doing the best we can in this search, and just like that will take on the colors of a good life. And he gave the pearl to the soldier and he went away. And suddenly, at that moment, there was this huge displacement, this earthquake. And the ground shook, and there was a mighty roar, and all these buildings started falling down, and, the other wise men thought, this is the end. I've nothing left to lose. I've given away everything I have. I've nothing left to lose. Much like we are at the threshold of the third step. I've nothing. I've got to give it up. And he said, whatever. And of course, to have his luck, a tile fell off the roof and hit him on the head, knocked him flat. He's got bleeding out of his head wound. And the little girl is still there and she's holding him. And suddenly he hears a voice in all this din that's going on around him. And the voice says, whatsoever you do for the least of me, you do for me. And that's a responsibility. We aren't going to find the new member in the halls of the rich. We're going to find them most likely in a detox or at the door of the meeting. But whatever it is, that's our responsibility, is to reach out and hold that. And when he died, he was at peace because he knew that what he had been looking for all that time, he had found. And that's what AA is for me. Everything I've been looking for all my life is right here. So, like the other wise man and SpongeBob SquarePants, I may be 65, but I'm ready.